So welcome back to Beyond the Ceremony, Modern Celebrancy Unfiltered. And I'm so excited because I love it when I have a guest on, but I love it even more so when it's one of the AMC family. So today I am joined by Helen, one of our fabulous mentors at the AMC. Hello, Helen.
Hello. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, you're so welcome. It is so lovely to have you. And also, I think the nice thing is today's topic is something that is so relevant for you and I. So I think we're going to have some fun talking about it. So we are going to be talking today about running your Celebrant business around a young family. So this is something that if you go self-employed, when you have got children, yes, it's fantastic because you get all that flexibility, but it can come with some challenges, shall we say. So I think it's really nice for us to be able to kind of discuss this today, Helen, talk about our own experiences and kind of things that we've learned along the way. So I guess first of all, Helen, can you introduce yourself? So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your Celebrant business, and yes, just who are you as Helen the Celebrant?
So I am Helen of Helen Jubb Ceremonies, and I've been going for 7 years now. So I'm an independent celebrant. I specialise in weddings, namings, and vow renewals. I am a mum of 2 kids, so 7 and 5. I am living in Sheffield. I am a southerner.
Oh,
But I
really?
have now been in Sheffield for about 19 years
Oh,
now. So,
wow. Oh, I never knew that.
although, yeah, I am a southerner, but it just means now that if I'm up here or down back kind of in Berkshire, I just, everyone takes the mickey out of my accent wherever I go.
Yeah, that's it. I remember I used to work in Kent and live in Kent, and everyone at work used to call me, like, used to say, "Hey up, love," like I was northern. I literally came from Northamptonshire. It is not north. The only thing in north about it is that it says north at the beginning, but it isn't north. So actually, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I completely understand. And then, like you say, I bet when you're up in Yorkshire, everyone's going, "Oh, here she is from down south." Like you've got all
Ah,
that.
yeah.
Absolutely. So you touched on it obviously a bit there. You've got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. Obviously, you've been going for 7 years. So talk to me about that. What happened? Did you start the business on maternity leave or when you were pregnant, or kind of have a chat with me about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd wanted to become a celebrant a couple of years beforehand, so I'd been working towards that and then got pregnant. And yeah, it seemed like maternity leave was the perfect opportunity to get the business up and running. I mean, you always think, don't you? I'm going to have so much
Yes,
time
yes,
go
absolutely.
on maternity leave, and it was that opportunity I needed to start the business up. Um, so yes, that was, I suppose, the kind of catalyst that really made me push forward with the business
Yeah.
was when I was on that first maternity leave.
And kind of having that time off. So you say obviously before you were pregnant or when you were, getting ready to have your first baby, you were thinking about becoming a celebrant. What was it that kind of started it? Was it that flexibility or was it something else or?
It was actually, and I'm gonna have to touch on my kind of own wedding now,
Of
actually,
course.
because both me and my husband had been married previously when we got together,
Yeah.
and when we decided to get married, we wanted something different, something that reflected both of us. We were kind of in our 30s, both quite outgoing people,
Yeah.
and we fell in love with an unlicensed venue where it's actually a very, very small theatre in
Oh,
Sheffield.
wow.
And it was through kind of looking around, trying to figure out what we could do and coming across celebrants. And it was just the whole process of it for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. You
It
just
was
loved it.
going through it as a bride. And we went on honeymoon. We're in Vietnam. And it was like a light bulb
Really?
moment of, yeah, honestly, I literally just sat there and was like, this is what I am meant to be doing.
Yeah.
My background's journalism and, teaching journalism and events management.
Perfect.
And it just felt like, yes, this is everything I've been working towards.
Yeah.
And I was, I was desperate to kind of have my own business and give it a go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was 2000 and end of 2015. So it took a good couple of years of just working it out and what I was going to do, and training and all the rest of it, and really creating my business.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
then when you got to the stage where you were about to have your baby, or you just had your baby and you're on maternity leave, it's like exactly like you said, you think you're going to have all this time. You're like, yeah, I've got all this time off my full-time job. I'm going to have loads of time to get set up. And as we know, when children come along, it's maybe not what we first expected, and time isn't necessarily something that you have anymore. So how did you manage being on maternity leave and starting this brand new business at the same time? Like, how was that?
Difficult.
Yes.
And I think
full stop, that's it.
It's difficult. But the rewards, it's always about the rewards, isn't it? It's worth it. And I think, and you mentioned sort of the challenges that we face. I think the biggest thing is support across the board. Whatever stage you're at, it's always about having that support network, and whether that's a partner you've got at home who might support you, or family members or close friends. I can remember driving to stay with my mum and dad. So I drove down south, stayed with my mum and dad for a few days, and they helped me with my little boy while I was there working away on my branding and my website. And if you do need some sort of support network, and that just carries on, doesn't it? I mean, it is that cliche of it takes a village to raise a child, but it's so true.
But it also takes a village to launch a business. So I think that's the thing. You needed 2 villages at that time. So well done you. But I think as well, that's the thing. If you know that you could launch this business, start this business, and do all of that on maternity leave once, I guess when it came to having your second, you were a couple of years in. Yes, of course, you'd got your baby at the time. So you're navigating, building that business. And I completely understand, because I was very similar. But actually, maybe second time round, when you were on so-called maternity leave, maybe because you'd already got something established, was it a little bit easier, would you say, second time around when you had your second, or not? Or
it was, but it was also COVID as well.
Of course.
So actually, I had my daughter January 2020, so she was, I think, 10 weeks old.
Yeah.
And I'd already actually gone back to work by then.
Wow.
I'd already gone out to meet potential couples within a few weeks of giving birth.
Yeah.
Because that's what
you do. Yeah, that's why
it's your own business.
Leave. Yeah, maternity leave has to go in inverted commas, because it's just not a thing, is it?
No. So in some ways, actually, my experience of my second was very different. Yeah. Because my husband was working from home all the time. So it was chaos, actually, with him trying to work and a 2.5-year-old and a newborn.
Wow.
But again, it's always having someone to help, and you are in the flow of it then, aren't you?
Yeah.
You've kind of gone through all those firsts.
Yeah, that's
which is so scary sometimes, and you're trying to build your business.
Yeah.
But you're in the flow of it then. Yes. I think you kind of understand what you need from your business and to help it tick over.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess as well, that's the thing, like we joke about, oh, there isn't really a maternity leave. And, I remember, similar to you, it was like my first wedding was 5 weeks after my first was born. And I remember I fed him just before, then I went in, my mum had an emergency bottle in the car, and I literally finished the ceremony, came out and fed him again in the cafe. And it's like, that's just what you do, because you don't want to let your couples down, and you want to make it work. But it is that flexibility that we do have, because we are, working and running our own business, working self-employed. So actually, you do get to choose your hours. So if you do need to, make things a bit more flexible around the family or around a newborn, that kind of thing, then I guess that's one of the perks of the job, that you kind of have got that flexibility.
Absolutely. I mean, we couldn't function as a family. It works so well for us. Yeah. And I think being a team, there are people out there running businesses or who are celebrants who are parenting alone. Yeah. And, I bow down to them, because I can't imagine that. I'm very lucky. My husband is very, very supportive, and you have to be a team for this. He does a normal 9 to 5 job. But that allows me to do school drop-offs and pickups. Yeah. I am, I've gone and read to my youngest's reception class. yeah, I've been on a school trip with them, and yes, other parents can do that, but if you are self-employed, you do have that bit more
Yes.
freedom.
Yeah.
I do a lot of, evening discovery calls. I mean, this weekend alone, just gone, I was at a showcase Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
husband was flying solo and doing the swimming and, all the rest of it, all the other bits and bobs we have to do as
Yeah. Yeah.
parents. Luckily,
Yeah.
there were no birthday parties.
Yes.
But, that's the payoff, isn't it? We
Yes.
do work weekends, we do work evenings, but it allows us, the flexibility to be able to be there for our kids. And I feel very, very grateful that I get to do that. And there's lots of parents out there who don't have the opportunities that I've got to be able to do things with my kids,
Right.
and
Yeah.
be able to just drop things to do things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And I think that's the thing as well. Exactly like you said, we can be there for those nativity concerts or even things
yeah.
like dentist appointments. It always blows my mind how people who work full time manage to go to the doctors or
Yes.
the dentist, because how do you do it? Like, and I think that's the thing. Having that flexibility in this role is definitely one of the perks, but it doesn't just come
Yeah.
easily. It's not just, oh, yeah, you can go and do whatever you want when you want. We do give up
No.
a lot of our weekends. Like, looking at the summer, most of my weekends are gone. Like, it's that kind of thing. That's what we do. But then it's kind of like you weigh up both options. And for me,
Absolutely.
the flexibility to be able to do that around my family. And this year my boys are both, I've got two little ones that are 3 and 1. One's going to be 2 in March, but they're kind of up in their days at nursery. So they're going to start doing an extra day. And I feel like, oh my gosh, what? And like, they're nearly 4. One's starting school this September. Well, like, he'll be 4 in August, and the other one's going to be 2 in March. It's kind of like, it's one of those things that they're absolutely fine. They're more than ready to do that. But for me, I've been there, like, self-employed, working around them for the last 3.5 years, that actually now to put myself and my career first and go, actually, things are getting busier. The business is a lot more established. I need an extra day. Feels really funny because I'm like, oh no, how do I now do this? Like, I've been used to working around nap times and things like that for the last few years. So yeah, it's a funny old balance, isn't it, really, finding what's right, I guess, but feeling that I've had that time with them, I feel so lucky that I've been able to have that time and watch them grow and spend most of the time with them in the week before they do start school.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's interesting because my youngest, she just started school.
Did she?
September. So I'm kind of finally, in that respect, they're both at school now.
Yeah.
So 5 days.
Oh,
and I was a bit like, I've got so much time.
Yeah.
But you obviously fill that time
Yeah.
so easily with your business, because you
Absolutely.
can start going, okay, I can focus on this, that, and
Yeah.
and it's great. But also, it does go really quick.
Yeah.
Those
I
6
bet.
hours
I bet. Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
But it's funny how then the kind of how they need you changes.
Yeah.
And you can adapt, your business can adapt
Yeah.
around those. I'll be straight off to gymnastics
Yeah.
after pick up today, for example.
Yeah.
So it's just in my diary, when I'm organizing meetings, it's again knowing that I work my discovery calls in the evenings around bedtime.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And
Same.
it's those little things like that I know it gives my couples flexibility as well, because I don't mind working that bit later. But it's funny how it just changes, it evolves all the time, how you work alongside your business, alongside your children.
Absolutely.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. And that's the thing. I remember nap times used to be such a, they'd be used for script writing or couples calls. And then my eldest dropped his nap and I was like, hang on, what? How do I now run my business? Now you don't sleep. Like, what's happening? So I think, like you say, you just up the late nights or you up the weekends, or it's that kind of thing, or you call in a bit of extra support where you can. It's those kind of things. But I guess we've kind of spoken on that time management being both a blessing and a curse. But what would you say are maybe some of the more specific challenges that perhaps you've faced while you've been juggling family life and work life? Is there anything else other than that kind of time management? Or
I think it is that balance.
Yeah.
Or it has been with me. It's trying to figure out, because I am career driven. I want to do really well. I want to be successful. I want to keep growing my business. but then it's also, I remember a couple of years ago, and I increased my ceremonies,
Yeah.
and I realised actually at the end of the year, it was too much.
Yes. Yeah.
And it had taken away too much from my family.
Yeah.
Actually, and however much I wanted to be super successful and earn more money.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a dirty word.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want
Of course.
to earn
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
money as
Of
possible
course,
as
we
well.
all do. Yeah. Absolutely.
But it was trying to figure it out,
Yeah.
how it was going to work, and also things like, you know, working out holidays. You know, how the lead times are so long, obviously, sometimes for weddings, and it's trying to figure out how many bookings you'll take during school holidays,
Yes.
for example.
Yeah.
Midweek weddings are becoming far more popular,
Yeah.
which is wonderful.
Yes.
But you know, I've got a wedding on in 2 weeks, but that's at 3:45 on a Friday.
Yeah.
So that's school pickup.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to arrange and figure out how, you know, it's that constantly shifting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that thing of we're always having to juggle all
Yeah.
the time, and it's probably overused, that whole the juggling.
No, but
we
I
do,
think
but
it is
but
true.
it's so true.
It's so true. It's such a good word, because it physically is a juggle. And I think this is the thing.
Yeah.
Like when you want to go and do things for your business, like I always, it's terrible, because naturally this is what ends up happening with partners in a relationship. You go, oh, well, you get to do that and you get to do that. And I think it does happen a lot when you've got children in the mix. But I always think my husband gets up in the morning, he says, right, it's half past 7, I've got to go to work. Off he goes at 7:30, and then he comes home and says, oh, I've got a meeting this night, so I'm working late or whatever. Whereas the hoops I have to jump through if I need to get to work early for a meeting, or I need to stay late for something, or I've got a ceremony that's going to be an evening or something like that, the amount of organising it takes, like, it's a whole other career in itself, isn't it? Diary management, I think.
Absolutely.
And that's where you do have to remind yourself, like, the reasons why we're doing it, because actually if I was in that 9 to 5, yes, okay, you know, you'd book the children in for childcare at whatever times, and you'd go and pick them up and drop them off and whatever, but then we wouldn't get all this other advantages of all the flexibility on the other side.
And they are only that age once.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is a very short time, really, in our lives of all that. Although, however frustrating it can be. I mean, like breakfast business networking events.
Yes.
And there's some great ones. I can never do them.
I can't do them. No.
And it's that can be really frustrating.
Yeah.
It's like you say, it's they walk out the door and it's see you later, and I'm there tearing my hair out trying to get breakfast down their throats and get them to school. But, you know, a lot of it is to do with, you know, setting boundaries, isn't it? And prioritising. And really, you do have to focus. I mean, I'm a huge list maker.
Great. Yes.
I love a list.
We love a list. Yeah, absolutely.
Whether I remember to look at them is another thing. But, but it's that prioritising. Okay, what do I need to prioritise for my business?
Yeah.
You know, what has got to be done? What you know, what do I need to make sure I'm doing? But also, okay, but what are the priorities with the kids or with us as a family? Or, you know, it's and I drop the ball all the time, not going to lie.
Yeah, same here.
with
Same
lots of different things.
Yeah.
And it is really awful when I miss big family events, you know, birthdays, and, you know, dinners have been arranged, parties have been arranged, and I can't attend them because I'm working. So there's always going to be times when you miss out, but it does overall. I think it's such a great profession. It really, really is, if you've got a family.
Yeah, it is.
Really is.
And I think that's the thing, that flexibility, like exactly like you just said about birthdays, that triggered a memory in me, because last year I had this wonderful couple get in touch, and they were honestly such a dream, and I was so excited. And basically the initial call was actually they were thinking about some advice on perhaps somebody in their family might be wanting to, you know, help them out with readings and things like that. So they were getting in touch for some advice. And then once we got chatting, they were like, oh my gosh, like, this is so great. We love everything you're talking about. Like, it really feels like we found a right click. And you know, you get those couples that you really click with. That was that feeling. We all felt it. The three of us were all like, oh my gosh. And they said to me, are you available for our date? It's the 23rd of August next year. And I was like, yes. Oh my gosh, I would love to. Like, I thought you were only ringing, you know, to talk about readings and things, but absolutely, I would love to. Anyway, I got off the phone and I went, I can't. That's Woody's birthday and it's my son's birthday. And the whole reason, exactly like you said, the whole reason that we do this is so that we've got a flexibility. So I had to ring them back straight away. And it was awful because you don't want to let your couples down because they mean as much to us as our own family. But I was like, I'm so sorry. I've just got off the phone. And I've said yes, of course. And I think we hadn't left it that they were 100% going to book. They were like, oh, that's great to know. So it wasn't like a definite yes. But I rang them back and I was like, okay, mum of the year over here. But I actually forgot that's my son's birthday. And I was like, yes, it is a Saturday in August. It's this year, actually. And I was like, but that is the reason I did this job. And that's the reason I chose to do this job, so that I could be there for birthdays and family things whenever it be. And they're not always on a Saturday in August. Some of them are, you know, on a Wednesday in August or whatever. But I was like, the reason I do this job is so that I can be there for things. And I was like, so I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it. But I recommended them a fantastic celebrant who lives nearby. She's doing it, so everyone's happy. But it's one of those things that you do, you want to plan ahead, but life does happen and get in the way. And sometimes it's very easy to sit here and look at a booking 18 months or 2 years away and go, yeah, of course I can do it. And then it gets near the time, and like you say, there are a lot of things that go on and kind of happen in the meantime.
All the time. I have confession to make, actually, because I am doing a wedding the day after my son's birthday in May. Yeah. But it's in the Lake District. So I am going to have to leave partway through his birthday.
Yes, absolutely.
In order to travel up. And I do feel mum guilt just about that. And I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. I'm going to be there for the majority of the day.
Absolutely. But it is one of those things. It absolutely is. And I think as well this year I was like, right, I'm really going to take a bold decision. And this felt very brave. But I was like, I'm going to take 2 weeks off in August, which feels for celebrants like, what? That's like our busiest time. But my husband's a teacher, so he has to have school holidays. So I said, right, I'm going to do it. And the temptation when those inquiries came in for the school holiday days to say yes, but I was like, no, I've got to stick to it. So I think that is such a good piece of advice, Helen, the boundaries, putting those boundaries in place and sticking with them and being strict. But are there any other kind of bits of advice that you would give that you've kind of learnt yourself or you're working on that's kind of helped with the work-life balance?
I think for me, asking for help. Yes. I am terrible. I am awful at it. Because I feel like I am obviously Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
In fact,
the mug.
I've got my onesie.
I know, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I saw the mug. It's beautiful.
And I do think I can do everything, obviously. And I have to, and I'm getting better at it, but I've got to keep getting better at it, at asking for help. And that can be at anything. That's asking for help with the kids. That is, if, you know, and this works alongside if you're studying, if you are in your business. It's that if you need some time to concentrate on something, is just saying, can you just take them off my hands for an hour or two, or asking if I don't understand something as well. You know, not being afraid to say, do you know what, actually I've never done this before. So it's okay to say, can someone maybe help me or explain something for me, rather than thinking, oh, I'm just going to go away and kind of sweat about it and be anxious.
Absolutely. I think you shake off those smaller things, don't you? And you go, actually, what is it that's important? And exactly like you said, I'm not going to be sweating, freaking out about it. I'm actually just going to ask for help and save myself hours of, you know, research trying to work something out. Yeah.
And I think it also about that, like, overwhelm.
Yes.
Because, and that kind of goes back to that balance thing. But, you know, when I've taken on too much, when I've got too many weddings on, and I can start to feel overwhelmed. You know, when you are trying to look after the kids, it's the school holidays, you've got loads of weddings on, you're staying up till midnight, 2 a.m. trying to get scripts done, stay on top of everything, you're still trying to network, you're still trying to, you know, attend, you know, lots of other things and live your life. And I've learned as well about when I start to feel that overwhelm is go, okay, stop.
Yeah.
Just stop a moment, breathe. just take a time to think about this. Again, prioritize, what do I actually need to do? Stop trying to do everything for everyone.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay on top of the washing.
Oh no, that's
Yeah,
the first to go in our house.
Yeah, but it is that kind of, just take a breath and remember what you're doing this for.
Yeah.
And really, be kind to yourself.
Absolutely.
I think it's so important to think of the bigger picture.
Yeah, that is really, really
and
good
that
advice.
really,
and I think something
helps
that
me.
I've learned recently, I mean, this has only been in the last few months, but I've learned to manage expectations more of my couples and families, because actually I used to put all this pressure on myself and think, well, I've got to get that done by tomorrow. I've got to get that done. I've got to get that done. And, oh, the kids are ill in the night and I've had 1 hour's sleep, but whatever, I've still got to get this done. And actually I'm now thinking, no, do you know what? If I actually reach out to my couples and say, just let you know, I will probably get this script done to you by X, Y, Z, and give myself a little bit longer than I would have done, not put so much pressure to have everything done yesterday, because yes, we want to excel in every single area, but if you manage those expectations and you say, I will be with you, but it's going to be in this amount of time or this amount of days or weeks or whatever, 9 times out of 10 they come back and they're like, yeah, that's absolutely fine, no problem, we'll catch up with you soon. And that takes that pressure off you, and then when you have got that time and that you have got round to it, that actually you can get back to that, then it kind of just makes everyone feel better. And also they are then in the clear, they know exactly what's happening, they're in the picture. You're not not getting back to anyone or ghosting anyone because you're worried you're taking too long. It's all that kind of thing. I think managing expectations, 1 on yourself, but 2 of your couples and families, is really important too.
That's such a great point. It's that communication, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
No one likes to be left in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're absolutely right. If you just make sure it's almost that drip feed of, I am here, I am working on it, and this is kind of the time scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't think that I'm ignoring you.
No, exactly. And how would you say, what are some of your favourite things about being able to run a flexible business? So working as a celebrant around a family, what's your kind of favourite things about that?
The time, I think it really is. I think it's that, I am not, I've never been a 9 to 5.
No,
I don't
me
think
neither.
I've ever really had a 9 to 5 job. So, I love the fact that I can, if I want to go out for a walk, or if I want to meet up with a friend, or, I'm meeting up with a wedding supplier on Thursday.
Fantastic.
Who, friends with. And so it's yes, it is networking, but it's also about meeting up with a friend and having a cup of coffee and a slice of cake.
Yeah.
And just, having a little vent if we need to have a vent about, work or whatever.
Yeah.
Being able to, like I said, I'm a member of the PTA for school.
Amazing.
For
I
example.
bet you're brilliant at that, Helen. I bet you're so good.
I can't help myself, honestly, Laura.
If there's a party, I'm there.
I love organising an event.
Yes.
So, but it gives me the freedom to be able to help, to give something back to my kids' school.
Yeah.
And just be able to not worry, I think, about missing out, and being able to, look, we do the best job in the world, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's an utter privilege to do what we do.
Yeah.
But also, I get to put on a frock, get, a face full of makeup on, and have, it's work, but it's such a great time of it as well.
It really
but I
is.
love, I just love how it's hard work, isn't it? I mean, parenting on its own is massively hard. Mm-hmm. And we're all just surviving as best we can, bringing up our kids. Running a business is super, super hard. We are doing everything, every little bit that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. All the admin side of it, the marketing side of it, just dealing with our couples, constantly trying to get that business. It's all time consuming. It takes it out of you emotionally, physically, but it is all so rewarding. Everything, the whole package.
Yes.
And I think I couldn't go back to working, full time for someone else.
100%.
It just, I love having the flexibility. I love being able to basically manage my own time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think as well, that's the thing. Work is time away from your children and time away from your family. So actually make sure it's worth it. And I think that's the thing for us. We have that job that we know we love it, and we know we get to do something, like you say, that's so rewarding, but that we enjoy so much, and we get to spend that time with our couples. And also, as mums, it's not very often you put on a nice frock and do your makeup and hair. So actually we get to do that every weekend because we're celebrants. So I think it's ticking all those boxes, isn't it? And it's a career choice. Certainly, I think we're on the same wavelength. That means that you can still get to go out and have fun and be you and feel like you're good at something, and you're like getting those rewards that way. But also it fits around that family life, so you still get to be there for that. It's not like you're missing out. So no, I think that's absolutely fantastic points. So what would you sorry, go on, Helen, go on.
No, I was just going to say, but also I think what I really, when I was growing up, my dad had his own business, and I got to see all that side of it. And I used to have to go to his office at weekends, and we all used to pitch in and do little bits and bobs. And I love that, my kids are growing up seeing me working really hard, as well as daddy, but they see, and I was lucky enough, a couple of years ago, I had a wedding in a local park in a bandstand.
Oh, wow.
And there's like a little museum. Yeah, there's a museum next door. And they'd given me a lift there because parking is really terrible. And unbeknownst to me, he'd taken the kids into the museum, but then he'd come out and they were watching me doing the ceremony.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so lovely.
Yeah, so they got to see mummy kind of
in action,
doing what I love to do. And I think it's so, it's so important as well. They're growing up and they see us working hard, and they realise that not all jobs are going out the door at 9 and coming back at 5, and there is a lot that goes on. There's lots of different types of jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing as well. It's like you were saying earlier about doing those calls kind of in the evenings or whatever. Sometimes it can feel a bit like a game of tag. My husband will get home from work at, I don't know, 5:30, and then I'm like, right, I've got a call at 5:45, like go, off you go. But I'll run upstairs and I'll hear the boys saying, I mean, our youngest can't talk yet, but our eldest will go, Mummy going to do her work? And he's like, yeah, she is, darling. And I think, like you say, it is actually so good that we can be those role models and show them actually we are business women. Like, I don't think we say it enough, but we actually are business women. And I think that is such a great, incredible thing to model to our children. And I think exactly like you say, it's not just daddy going off to work. Yes, okay, we're at home a lot of the time with them, but actually we're still running this incredibly successful business. Imagine if we were full-time doing this, we'd actually be smashing it, Helen. I mean, we pretty much are, but just different hours, what
we are, yeah.
So finally then, Helen, I guess this is a question I ask every guest on the podcast. So what is your one piece of advice to anyone that's listening right now and they're considering becoming a celebrant? What would your piece of advice be?
My advice would be, don't be afraid, go for it.
Yes.
I think, yes, you'll have those little niggly doubts about whether it's the right thing to do, but I would say don't be afraid, jump into it, embrace it, and you will never regret it. If you work hard at it, you will love it. There's so many positives to it, but you've got to jump in it with both feet and embrace it, and don't be afraid.
Fantastic. I love that, Helen. And also, if you are, somebody with a young family listening and thinking, oh, well, I can't do this now. I'm going to have to wait until they're, moved out and whatever. No, go for it. Helen set up literally the year she had her baby. I trained in 2019, launched the business 2020. So when, like I say, it's probably when you were having your second. Yeah. And then my first was born in 2021. So I'd probably been doing the business for about 18 months when he was born. So it's never the wrong time. Like, you can do it. No. You've got that flexibility. And I think just don't take on as many bookings to start with, set your limits. Those boundaries that we spoke about are so important. You don't have to say yes to everything. Set your limits, work out what's right for you. And I think I'm about to enter my, busiest wedding season yet. And I think, Helen, I may be catching up with you next January and going, oh, that was a bit too much, but we'll see. It's a lesson to be learned. We'll see.
Exactly. You'll find that balance.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Helen. Thank you for being a guest today. And please come back again. I know there's so many things that we can talk about, loads of different topics, but I feel like that's given a really good insight into, running your business around the family. So, Helen, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.